Today we're fortunate to have as our main speaker a Marine Corps and Vietnam War veteran. As Legionnaires, we're so very proud that Rooney, Charles Chuch Rooney, is a member of Post 16 and to represent us today. His experiences in Vietnam and as a former radio personality make him uniquely qualified to convey the true meaning of Memorial Day. He'll do so in a professional and distinctive voice and manner. He was also one of the main characters in a movie, 22, The Unforgotten Soldier, which was shown during our open house last May. It's about PTSD and the high rate of suicide by veterans. We appreciate Chuch today being our guest speaker. This will not be easy for him. He may get emotional, and that's quite all right. Let's all support him. Chuch?
Thank you, Dennis. And thank everyone for coming out today to honor our fallen soldiers, Marines, sailors, Coast Guard, airmen. I really appreciate it. As Dennis said, I get emotional. So please bear with me. I was attending a Marine reunion about 10 days ago in Branson, Missouri, and I got a message from Dennis asking me if I would be the speaker. Naturally, I was honored, but I didn't know if I wanted to do it because of how emotional I get. I talked to my buddies about this at the reunion. And if anybody would know how I feel, it would be them. We walked in each other's shoes. So I thought it would be a dishonor if I did not speak. So please bear with me. No greater sacrifice, no greater love than to lay one's life down for one's friend. According to Wikipedia, we lost 1,354,664 of our brave Americans. I'm going to talk about two today that touched my life when I was in Vietnam. They epitomize the bravery among all of our Americans that served valiantly. Father Vincent Capodanno was a Navy chaplain assigned in Vietnam to a Marine unit. We weren't in the same units, but we met on the battlefield at an operation in several search and destroy missions. He has been credited with the miraculous healing of a woman with multiple sclerosis. He was also then submitted, well, he's already got one towards 4, towards becoming canonized, becoming a saint. And the first one was servant of God. He was truly a servant of God. He loved his Marines. He was always right there for them on the front lines. He was told that it wasn't his job to go on patrols. But he said he felt he needed to be there with his Marines and corpsmen where they needed him most, in the thickest of the battles. He would go from Marine to Marine corpsmen to corpsmen that were wounded, laying on the battlefield. He was not concerned about being hit. He told me and my buddies, just have faith in God. Because of him, we did. I remember the first time I met him. We were just being lifted off for a search and destroy mission. And at the last minute, he jumps on the helicopter. And I saw the cross in his collar, so I knew he had to be a chaplain. I said, Father, what are you doing here? He said, this is where I'm supposed to be. He asked me where I was from, and I told him New Orleans in my typical Yat accent. And he said red beans and rice. So he knew a little bit about New Orleans and the Yats. He found out, and I don't know how he found this out, that I was not confirmed. I was a Catholic, I was baptized, but I was not confirmed. So he used to have little classes for me. I think it was 10 other Marines every time he had an opportunity. And he set up for us to be confirmed on the battlefield. I can remember this little short, pudgy Vietnamese bishop coming to do the service. I left Vietnam in February of '67. Father Capodanno was still there. I was released from active duty in June of '67, about the same time Father Capodanno left Vietnam. A month later, he requested to go back to Vietnam and be with his brother Marines in Corpsmen. They granted his wish. He was known as the Grunt Padre. For those who don't know what a grunt is, it's an infantryman. It's a term of endearment. September 4th of '67, I got a message from one of my buddies that he too had returned to the United States, that Father Capodanno was killed. He was doing everything that we observed him to do. The reports I got, there was 2 or 3 companies, maybe a whole battalion, I'm not sure, were surrounded by North Vietnamese. They were outnumbered about 5 to 1. Father Capodanno went from Marine to Marine, corpsman to corpsman that needed him, to say the last rites, to pray over them, to shield them. And so the report I got, and I can picture Father doing this. First of all, he was wounded in both legs, both arms, and part of his hand was severed from some mortar rounds. They wanted to give him help, medical help. He refused. He was shielding a corpsman. And he was hit by a burst of machine gun fire. The estimate was he was hit about 27 times. No greater sacrifice. Some gave all gave some. Father Capodanno gave all. Another person that I would like to talk about in just for a second, touched my life deeply, and Father Capodanno did also. Corporal Crowder was my buddy. I didn't know Corporal Crowder until I got to Okinawa, where we went through some guerrilla warfare training. But we hit it off right away. We were both promoted to corporal the same day that we arrived in Vietnam. And we had a little running test, kidding each other, busting each other's chops, that I would make sergeant before him and he would make sergeant before me. So we made a little bet. Whoever made sergeant first would pay the other one's trip to his hometown. Corporal Crowder saved my life. The day he saved my life, I told him, I said, man, he tackled me and threw me into a little ditch. I didn't smell too well, but I was alive. I said, Crowder, you should have been playing for the Green Bay Packers the way you tackled me, man. He said, I'm here to save your sorry Cajun ass. Now, I'm not a Cajun. I love Cajuns, but for some reason he thought everybody from Louisiana was a Cajun. About 2 weeks later, we went on Operation Colorado. We had set up a perimeter, and just a few hours later, about 0200 in the morning, we attacked. We received approximately 8 to 12 rounds of 801 millimeter mortar fire, unknown 57 millimeter recoilless rifle rounds, 200 rounds of small arms fire, weapons and casings were found. This lasted, it seemed like an eternity, but I think it was just a couple of hours. I was on the east end of the perimeter. Corporal Crowder was on the west end. We're about a mile east of Tammany. We lost 4 brave Marines that day. Gunnery Sergeant Constant, Lance Corporal Wizamirski. We call him Ski for short. That's pretty obvious. Lance Corporal Frizzell and Corporal Crowder. He never made sergeant. That's one bet I wish I would have lost. About a week later, PFC Barrow died of wounds on a U.S. hospital ship where he was evacuated to. So we lost 5, and about 21 were wounded. That was a light casualty event in some of the other ones I saw, but you don't want to lose one person. Not one. Not your brothers and your sisters. So, this was in honor of Father Capodanno, Corporal Crowder, and every other American that lost their lives serving our country. It's the least I could do. I would like to mention just briefly, if there's any educators in the audience. If not, I know we have parents. See if you can get to the powers be and put in the curriculum at least one semester of the history of our military. That would be a terrific honor to all of our fallen Americans. Just one semester. But make it mandatory, not voluntary, mandatory. And your junior or senior year, take a field trip. Take these students to Washington, D.C. to see all these monuments. If you say, well, we can't afford it because of the finances, well, if so, then drive across Lake Pontchartrain and go to the World War II Museum. On the way over, stop at the corner of Veterans and North Causeway and go visit the Korean War Memorial. A lot of people don't know about that. Take a few minutes to do that also. I don't think that's too much to ask. Yep. And all the services we're having around the country today is fantastic. I know Corporal Crowder and Father Capodanno are looking down on us now with a big smile on their face. But don't let it end at 12:01 tonight. Don't let it end at 12. Don't wait until next year. If you happen to be driving down the street and you have a few moments and you're passing one of our national cemeteries, stop in. Do a little prayer. Visit some of the grave sites. Put a flower, a poppy, or whatever. Drive down Highway 22 to Ponchatoula. Stop at that cemetery that's at the foot of Highway 51 and visit a memorial of Rick Clausen. He survived Vietnam, but he died afterwards. He had a lot of challenges. He got the Medal of Honor. He was awarded the Medal of Honor. Doesn't take long. Just pull down. You can see the monument when you pull in the driveway. Stop over there and pay your respects. You see a Gold Star family. Tell them thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you. It doesn't take just a few minutes. Don't let it end tonight at 12:01 and wait until next Memorial Day. And I'm going to finish with this. I read an article from the Wall Street Journal. It was dated May 23rd. Peggy Noonan wrote it. It was quite lengthy, but I'm just going to put it at the end of the column what she said. And this is concerning our children. Help our children. Be sure they're aware of all the sacrifices all our military did and that are doing right now. Parents, she said, parents, help your children love the country. It will be good for them. And more to the point, this country deserves it. Thank you very much, each and every one of you, for coming to this ceremony, honoring our fallen men and women. I certainly appreciate it, and I know they do also. Thank you very much.